What is up, sports fans? My name is Jake Aniszewski, Jake Iggy, or Iggy for short, and this is Iggy's Sports Talk. So I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in to episode 51 of Iggy's Sports Talk. And today, I have a very special guest with me on the show. His name is SHAWN HARPER. He's a former NFL player and also a motivational speaker. So how's your day going so far, SHAWN?
You know what? My day is going well. Has some ups and downs, ed and low, highs and lows, but we winning. That's what it's about.
There we go. That's what it's all about. You woke up today. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Where are you located right now?
Hey, I have one more. I am located in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, there you go. How's the temperature out there? Is it getting sort of into that spring kind of weather?
It is. It's having some struggles with with winter still trying to, raise its ugly head, but I could smell it, baby. It's here. Spring is here. And in fact, I went out and I purchased a bicycle. So, I'm out there riding a bike and it's so funny, but I love it. So, yeah.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah, same here in Plymouth, New Hampshire. The snow just melted. I just skied my last day a week or so ago, and it's crazy because it was like 70 degrees yesterday, and I'm like, whew, finally, we got the spring weather back. But up here in New England, it doesn't matter if it's spring, winter, or whatever. It can rain 1 hour and snow the other hour. Who knows?
Jeez, man. Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting, but I always like to ask my guests this question to start off the conversation because 2020 last year, very unprecedented time, a year where it was tough for a lot of people, but also there was some time. It gave people some time to learn a lot about themselves. So I was wondering, looking back on the year of 2020, what was one moment that you can think back on and think, wow, that was probably the greatest moment of 2020?
Wow. You know what? The greatest moment of 2020, honestly, for me is learning how, or that I was able to learn how to deal with adversity. Adversity can break you. It breaks people every single day, but it also can make you a record breaker.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the perspective of your pain. What
Right.
is the perspective of your pain, right? So I had went through several, extremely traumatic experiences actually in 2020. But what it did is that it actually increased my resolve. It made me stronger. And I realized that,
Mm-hmm.
what, I can win in just about any situation or circumstance.
Right.
Just to have, key aspects of your life permanently disrupted. Anchors that were in your life, people that you had depend on, situations. I probably lost within 48 hours, I lost 90% of all, actually 95% of all my speaking engagements in one day. There were cancellation after I had a conservative six figures lined up as far as speaking. So I had planned out the actual quarter, the actual year, and I'm used to being on the road. I'm used to living out of a suitcase, and so I
Right.
love that. And then all of a sudden, not only I'm not speaking anymore, my actual outlet of traveling is gone. And that's just the edited version of some things that I had to deal with. So it was tough, but it taught me that I can adapt and overcome in just about any situation or circumstances.
Exactly. I love that. And like you said, the first thing that you brought up, perfect word for it. It's all about the perspective. It's all about how you're looking at the world around you. And I found it sort of interesting when the pandemic first started, there was a lot of people who were selfishly thinking, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I was one of those people as well. I got my junior year sort of cut off and had to go home and do online classes. And I really had to take a step back and think, this is happening to everybody. This isn't only happening to me. And so how were you really able to go through and overcome that adversity? But especially for yourself, somebody who's a motivational speaker, how were you able to adapt to sort of a virtual type of way of working?
Yeah, so I just, as I mentioned, I actually kind of sprinkled, and you know what, you are a very good host to really come back in and zero in on that, is
Appreciate
that
that.
um, I had to I had to develop an internal gyroscope. You know, a gyroscope is placed on certain things to create a actual counterbalance. And
Mhm.
so the counterbalance had to cease from moving external. It had to move into an internal, having an internal gyroscope that that actually created that actual balance in my life. And to be really honest, it's just really fortified my relationship with God. You know, because
Makes
you know
sense.
sometimes when you have everything that's around you that's in this world system that's crumbling, you need something that's outside of this world system that you could adhere to, that you can like line yourself up. To actually triangulate your life, you need 3 points. You need where you're at, when you're going, or where you're going. You need an unmovable point. Any of those points are off, and your destination, your destiny is off. The
Mhm.
good, the actual good news is that I was able to realign myself with that unmovable piece. And you know what, where I was, I realized, and where I'm going now, you know what, I was able to really move into that. So you mentioned just now, you mentioned the fact that me actually being online. So I'm a very intuitive type of a person, a very intuitive type of a speaker, but I'm not able to connect with my audience. I'm having to learn a whole new skill set to pick energy up by connecting over Zoom, like being
Right.
able to read you, read your image, your body language, and to pick up your actual energy from a camera is a new skill set that I'm developing, but I'm getting pretty good at it, to the point that, you know what, I don't know if I want to go back on the road anymore as much.
Mhm.
It's too much of a hassle.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's something that a lot of people have sort of realized during this pandemic is, maybe I don't have to go on all these business trips. Maybe I can just do a lot of these things,
Right.
right here in my home. And that's something that, I've gotten a little bit better as well. I do a lot of these interviews over Zoom, but I like doing interviews much more face to
Yeah.
face, like over Zoom, compared to audio,
Hmm.
because I'm a very visual person as well. I base my thoughts and sort of how I react off of people's nonverbal communication. And so it's definitely been a learning experience for really all of us. But something that I sort of something that you brought up with kind of having to go to an external resource when things are uncertain or when you don't know what's going to happen. And over this time, I've sort of just kept the same mindset of everything happens for a reason. The dots are going to connect, and if I overthink it too much and if I try to control things, that's just going to cause me anxiety.
Yeah. And actually that that anxiety, and I'm not a professional, so I don't want you to, and I don't want your audience to take this away, but oftentimes a lot of fear, strife, and anxiety is that we're trying to hold on to something that we can obtain, and we're trying to gravitate and try to subdue something that we can't control. And being able to release, being able to set free, uh, there's so much there's so much energy and there's so much power with that and in that. So yeah, that's that's been a lot that I've had to learn, because I'm one of those individuals, when I get in there and fix it, I want to fix it, but there's certain things that you can't fix, and it's very humbling to get in situations or circumstances that you can't fix, and
Right.
you have to let the process play itself out, and then you have to find out where you fit in that process, and don't over process. So yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I bet I bet it must have been tough, especially like growing up as well. That uncertainty of not knowing really where you want to go. And that's where I am right now. If I'd be able to be behind this microphone for as a career, which that's my goal, that'd be unreal. And so, like growing up,
Sure.
did you sort of have that positive mindset and that positive perspective of just trying new things, trying to figure out what your purpose was?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so funny. Don't laugh at this, but I've always had a future that involved the microphone because I used to MC, and then as I got older, I used to rap.
There you
And
go.
so it's really weird, but ever since I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, I had a mic in my hand, in my left hand, because I'm both right and left-handed, but I would have a mic in my hand, and I'm in front of 500 people, and I'm rapping,
So
hard, and I
is there
could
a
flow
mixtape that
off
I
my
can
head,
find of yours? Like if I
But
search Sean Harper on YouTube, rapper, can I find a video?
no, you will never find a video of me rapping on you. That's been scrubbed. You'll
Shoot,
never see that
shoot.
ever. It's funny. It's weird because this is probably one of the only interviews I've ever mentioned that. But yeah, I actually had an opportunity to make music um, with some friends of mine.
That's cool.
But yeah, um, yeah.
And then so like how did you start like getting into like football and like that sort of stuff and really start to sort of fortify that dream of being in the NFL?
Never really liked football. I didn't
That's
like
interesting.
football till like the 12th grade. Yeah, it was my mom. My mom made me play football. I used to, I would have to walk almost 2 miles to and from practice every single day. And she
Wow.
made me play. I didn't want to play. I couldn't stand football. And what's so funny? My son, he was the same way. He didn't like football. And I could tell he didn't like it because it wasn't in his eyes.
Mhm.
Probably towards his senior year, he started liking it. Same time I started liking it. And because I was expected to play because I'm a big guy. You're a big guy, you go play football, right?
Right.
But I did not, it wasn't in my DNA probably until I got to my junior, senior year. And it just clicked in like, you know what, this is something that I would like to do. And then, from there, I went to junior college, went to Indiana University, and the rest is history. And, boom.
So that's interesting because you sometimes you hear guys who start getting that like football passion like in high school like yourself, but then you also sometimes hear people they started at like 5 years old or something like that. But like when you sort of transition from Indiana to the NFL, did you have that like motivation? Did you have that fire to succeed even though like you weren't
Oh
super
yeah, yeah,
passionate
yeah,
about it?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, once I'm in college,
Hmm.
I see the opportunity now.
Right.
And then, from there, that dream, that desire, that goal, it comes out after
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
And so, from your time
Yeah.
transitioning from Indiana to the NFL, like how was that transition? Because you see a lot of guys from college to the NFL sometimes have pressure issues or stuff like that. But how is it for you?
Yeah. I didn't have all that pressure because I was never expected to make it in the first place. So it was just like, okay, it doesn't matter. The fact that I got drafted the NFL in the first place was a huge victory. Like I said, I wasn't that guy who was all Pop Warner, all state, and all intergalactic, universe in high school and junior high school. So I was just a kid sitting in the back. So just the fact that I got drafted, I already made it. And that's good and bad because what
Mhm.
happened was that once I reached the pinnacle, the downside to that is that I needed other fuel because I've already made it. Now what? I'm one of those now what type of guys. Like, let's go kill, conquer, take over something. And if I don't have that, then yeah, I get bored. I have to have different projects, different opportunities. And so that was one of the downfalls of that. Once you reach that level, now what?
Right.
But it's okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I watched a football life that series with Rodney Harrison. And he said something very similar. He's like, I always needed something to go on. Like I needed something to get excited about. But sort of
Yeah.
during your time
Yeah.
during your few years starting off in the league, was there any players who mentored you during your first few seasons?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was a guy named Jackie Slater. He was a, he was a right tackle in the league. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, he was a great mentor. Awesome guy.
That's awesome. And then also you played with Marshall Falk as well. And I was wondering what were some of your experiences with him,
Yes.
especially guarding for him.
You know, he was a quiet guy. He
Yeah.
was quiet, very decisive. Yeah, very to the point, action, to himself a lot. So, yeah, I tell you, uh, uh, a more colorful guy was a person like Tony Saragusa was on their team. You know, he was hilarious. You got to look him up, man. It's a big dude. You know, he was
We're gonna
funny
have
to
to.
me. You know, guys like that. But yeah.
And then also another guy who's your quarterback in Jim Harbaugh. You know, we see him on the sideline of Michigan these days, and he's always fired up. And so I gotta ask, how is he as a player, and especially somebody who was like guarding him? What was your experiences with him?
He is and was extremely intense. Very, 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 very intense guy. Yeah.
That makes sense. And so did you have like a pretty cool experience like playing with him, and like did his intenseness like hype you up, or?
Yeah, I loved him.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He has a strong he has a strong will to win. He's a great guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw him on the sidelines of the 49ers, he was always so fired up and ready to win, and that seemed like it was his number one priority.
Yeah. I loved him. I love him. He's a great guy.
That's awesome. And then right after you transitioned from the NFL, you went over to the NFL Europe. And I was just wondering, is there any like major differences between NFL Europe and the NFL played in the USA?
You know, yeah. The speed of the game is a lot faster in the NFL. But you know what? There was a lot of great talent over in NFL Europe. A lot of great talent. In fact, my quarterback was a guy named Jim Harbaugh. I mean, Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was my quarterback over there.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And was he like how old was he? I didn't know that he played in the NFL Europe. How old was he?
I don't know how old he is now, but you can look it up though.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look it up because I had no clue that he went over to the NFL Europe. And then so you went from the NFL Europe and then transitioned into a motivational speaker. And I was wondering sort of what intrigued you to want to be a motivational speaker and go out and help people.
You know, it's just that, I was able to actually achieve a measure of success and to win. And so I'm thinking, okay, how many other Shawn Harpers are out there? People who just have just want to just invest in them, believe in them, pour in them. Where are they at? And so that's my goal is, let me find somebody that I can motivate, that I can help, that I can encourage. So definitely.
And watching a few clips of the speeches that you've made, you talk a lot about this winning edge. And I was curious exactly what is the winning edge and how can people implement it into their life?
You know what? So it's like life is to me, life is not really about success. Life is about winning, and everyone is created to win. And it doesn't mean that someone has to lose, but when you win, you're going against your chief competitor, and your chief competitor is yourself, and you have to fight against you to get to the actual pinnacle of what you've been called to do. And so, if life is a game, you play to win, and you compete against yourself.
And so we all the time make up excuses in our minds, and that's sort of what you talked about. We get in our own heads. And so how do you suggest people avoid making excuses in their minds?
You know what? So one of the things that I do is when that excuse comes, not if, but when it comes, you have about 5 seconds. I call it the 5-second rule. You got 5 seconds, and you can change it within 5 seconds when that excuse or that want to cop out. If you can catch it within those 5 seconds, you can change it. So that's what I do. I would say the word stop and then that thought freezes every time, and then I redirect it because I'm going to get into the 212, and that's my goal.
That makes sense. What's the 212 mean?
Water is water at 211 degrees.
Okay.
At 212 degrees, that 1 degree extra, that little bit of effort, water boils. Boiling water has changed the world. So you got to get into the 212 if you want to change the world.
You just brought me back. You just gave me a little bit of nostalgia, quite honestly, because for my baseball team, our slogan was 212, and that I kind of had an inkling that that's what you meant. But that's kind of what my coach would always say. He said, work to that 212, like work that extra mile, not 211, get to 212. So that's cool.
The 212. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so for people who are listening right now that sort of want to get involved in your motivational speaking and learn more about you, where can they go and where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can go to SHAWNHARPER.org is my website, but you can go to SHAWNHARPER.co, SHAWNHARPER.co. You can get a free copy of my book. Information is there as well. But and then obviously I want you to go to my Instagram, like Shawn Harper Speaker. I have tons of clips, videos, everything's there. So last but not least, my Facebook group, Winning by Design. And there's tons of just really intimate one-on-one, just getting down and gritty coaching examples. It's all there.
Perfect. I'm definitely going to have to, right after we have this call, I'm going to go and check out your book 100%.
Okay, that sounds great.
Absolutely. So everybody that's listening right now, go and check out Shawn's stuff. And Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I was able to learn a lot, and I'm definitely going to go and check out all your stuff. Really appreciate the time.